The Minnesota Twins have won a postseason game. Yes, the streak is over. Rejoice. 18 games, 19 years. That's a good sign. The streak did end, and they were going nuts in Minnesota. As we addressed yesterday, AJ, it could cost you single-digit dollars to get into the ballpark. You could, if you ate before the game, you could spend like $8 and experience history in Minnesota. And it was a vibe there. It was awesome. It's just finally over. And now what?
It just didn't seem. Well, now they got to win a series. Now they got to win one of the next two and win a series. But listen, I played in Minnesota. I was there 2 out of my 2 years. We went to the playoffs. We lost in the ALCS. We lost in the ALDS. And Minnesota loves their baseball, and they come out, especially for playoff baseball. They might have been selling for $7 or $8 or whatever the ticket price was, but that place was packed, and it was loud, and it definitely had an effect on the game. And Royce Lewis, you're a stud, dude. Coming back the way you did, I remember seeing you walk in the parking lot and like, get the camera out of my face. Well, you hit 2 home runs in your first playoff game. Guess what? You get the camera in your face. So you're a stud. The Twins crowd was unbelievable. Listen, 3 of the 4 places where there were games yesterday, the crowds were lit. They were on fire. Everything you could want for them. Milwaukee, even though they lost, Philly was being Philly, and Minnesota was just dying to end that streak, and they did, and it was great.
Yeah, Rocco was talking about, thought this place was going to split open. Like, this should be what the stadium designers think of. Like, Minnesota's stadium, Target Field, is the smallest footprint of any stadium, and yet they had 38 or 39,000 packed out in that place, and it was loud. From what everyone was talking about post-game, during the game, it was loud there. Same thing in Philly. It's a small footprint of a stadium. It's loud. Milwaukee, it kind of just goes straight up. The lower bowl's not too big, and everything just goes straight up, so they feel like you're on top of you. Like, that's playoff baseball. That is where Minnesota, I think, really propelled their team. I think they propelled their team to early lead. Obviously, then, the bats went cold, and the Blue Jays bats were just cold the whole time. So it is a thing. It's a thing. Fans, you need to come out, even if it is only $9 to get into a game. Spend that $9 and enjoy yourself.
And Byron Buxton was a big draft pick for this team years back, 2 overall, and unfortunately not on the playoff roster, just couldn't get himself healthy enough for this time period. And it's been a problem, obviously, his whole career. Rocco said, quote, he worked his butt off to get in the best possible physical shape he could, but it was a hard emotional talk. We both were sitting in the room knowing that he wasn't going to be able to play in this series. Well, he was 2nd overall. Years later, a 1-1 named Royce Lewis was selected. He too went through a lot of injury bullshit. And that includes the last couple weeks with a hamstring issue. We got to meet him on the field in Cincinnati a couple weeks back when we did our shows there. He's a wonderful young man. He is super cool, super chill, not vanilla cookie cutter bullshit answers. And he homered twice in his first 2 freaking plate appearances. What a stud. And if you're on the pod side of things right now, we're looking at him. And these were impressive ABs. Obviously, Gausman did lay up some fastballs, kind of belt high right in his nitro zone, but dude made a name for himself. And actually, I was pissed because AJ was watching the broadcast and they cut away to something else, third AB. I'm like, please let me see what the crowd does third AB. And I saw it on social, obviously. Standing ovation for Royce Lewis. Super cool. And draft picks matter. And what a freaking performance for him. I mean, he carried the offense.
Don't forget the other 1-1 on their team, Carlos Correa, who was drafted to pick ahead of Buxton, who made that barehanded play on Bo Bichette at the plate. But Royce Lewis, man, I'm happy for this kid. I know I've met him a few times doing games in Minnesota. Always happy, always have a smile on his face, always very friendly. And Dustin Morris has been saying for the whole year, you got to get Royce Lewis on foul territory. Well, we're waiting, Royce. We're still here. We're waiting for you. I know you came on in Cincinnati, but we can do the show more than once. It's okay. But listen, here's the thing about Minnesota. The place plays small. Okay, I always felt like the Target Field, if you get the ball up, it'll go. And he got 2 fastballs up from Gausman. and he didn't miss either one. He went to left, he went to right. The thing I didn't like more than anything, though, and you mentioned the broadcast, the announcer said, "Oh, is Gausman tipping? That's why they're not swinging at him." Well, the only dude that really hit Gausman was Royce Lewis. Other than that, the rest of the Twins didn't do anything. So, I mean, was he tipping? I don't think so. I think they just had a good plan, and their plan basically was like, we're not going to swing at the split, because they didn't swing at a ton of them, and when they did, they kind of didn't do anything with them. So for people to just be like, oh, he's tipping because one dude hit 2 homers is crazy to me.
No, I don't know. I said it yesterday. That's why I went on that game the whole year. Every time they face somebody, the Twins face somebody with a splitter, they take every pitch down in the zone. If it starts down in the zone, they are not swinging. Anything up, they are hacking. And at the end, his last inning, Gausman's last inning, he struck out the side. He started to get into the groove, and they were all located pitches down in the zone and then finishing them up above the zone. That's why the Twins strike out a ton. And I don't think Gausman did that bad. I don't agree with throwing. I don't know why you would throw a fastball in, especially ever, unless it's going to be in off the plate to Lewis, because he's got enough away that you don't need to do anything, inside except for balls. And I don't know if Gausman was trying to go in, but the whole tipping thing, that was whatever. I'm not gonna get into my real thoughts on it. But
Kratz, that's what happens when a starter has a bad day. He's tipping, right?
No. There's just bad days sometimes. Listen,
exactly.
And it wasn't even that bad of a day.
No, he struck out the side and then
he gave up 2.
And then
he really
gave
up 2 hits. He made 2 mistakes the whole day.
Yeah, he had 5 strikeouts in 4 innings, and he went 73 pitches. And this is what we'll probably get into with any of the other teams that lost, especially the Brewers. They really set themselves up. Like, they went right to Swanson. I know they're trying to keep the game close there, but to me, Gausman's your guy. He is your guy that you could go another 25 pitches, or worst comes to worst, have somebody ready in the 5th. I don't understand why they didn't bring him back out, because he struck out the side and then bounced him. Now, obviously, I got a little skin in the game. I'm sitting there going, yeah. Bring him back out. Now he's got his groove. He just needs one more strikeout to hit my prop. But from a managerial standpoint, my thought is he's not in trouble. He wasn't in trouble that entire inning. In reality, he just gave up those two hard hit balls, and they were just happened to be dingers.
I agree. You got to manage these. I know everyone says, "Oh, you got to manage these playoff games like Game 7," but you also have to manage for the war, not just the battle, right? And we're going to get into it with Russ Dorsey when we start talking about Corbin Burns and the way Craig Counsell handled his bullpen, because I think not only did Schneider in Toronto, when you're losing, you have to find a guy. If you're going to take your starter out after 4 innings like they did, you have to find a guy that can give you some length, because you don't want to use all your high leverage guys.
Yep.
Because you're going to have to win 2 games. And if you use your high leverage guys, and then let's say you get ahead tomorrow or today now, you're going to need them again. And then you got to win Game 3. And in today's game, starters don't go 9 innings. Starters don't go barely 6 innings most of the time. So you're going to need those guys to pitch 3 days in a row. And a lot of those guys aren't equipped to do that because they haven't done it a whole lot. So it's going to be interesting now to see how not only Schneider, but Craig Counsell, the Marlins are in a little better position because they did a little bit differently, and they didn't use as many as their high leverage guys as other teams did. The Rays didn't use a lot. I mean, the Rays do it all the time, but still, it's going to be interesting to see how the teams that lost today, come back today and use their bullpens.